Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, either live or at a later time on YouTube. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day for this special April edition Coffee Talk with myself, Michael Koneski from School Climate Transformation Grant Project Connect with the Department of Safe Schools here in Palm Beach County Schools. Along with Diamond Howard, Catherine Grace, and Suzanne Mikowski from the Hanley Foundation. As part of the Project Connect grant, we focus on providing our participating schools with opioid prevention programs for both students and parents. The Hanley Foundation has been an amazing partner for us in this endeavor and really do an amazing job of providing specific opioid prevention programming for the students. They offer programs in areas such as marijuana, vaping prevention, opiate prescription drug prevention, life skills through the life skills program, just a few. And the Hanley Foundation also provides programs for parents as well. And the one that we'll feature today in a little preview is called the Active Parenting course. This course is tailored to parents of children in a specific age range, so that the parenting skills and strategies are shared through this course to specific children in that specific developmental stage. And then I'm going to talk more about that course in detail a little bit later. I'm sure they can do it much better than I can. But bottom line, we really enjoy our partnership with the Hanley Foundation, and we are so thankful for all that they do. So moving on to the next slide. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm a little bit about Project Connect and the grant that Wellington High School is part of, and then I will do a little mini adult SEL wellness session with some helpful tips and strategies that you can try. And then I'm going to turn it over to the Hanley team to do a preview of the Active Parenting course and share some helpful parenting strategies, focusing on communication, active listening, and encouragement. And next slide, please. So my name is Michael Koneski, and I am one of the 3 Project Connect grant specialists. To give you a little bit of an overview about Project Connect, again, we are a U.S. partner Department of Education grant. Back in 2014, the Department of Ed was able to give out 71 LEAs awarded. And in 2019, Palm Beach County was one of those chosen local education agencies that was awarded this grant. And we are so fortunate to be able to have this. The focus of our grant is to build capacity at school and district level through implementing positive behavior support aligned with social and emotional learning for students and adults. And there's a specific focus on opioid abuse and prevention. And that's a big part of where the Hanley Foundation comes in to be able to help us with that. This is a 5-year grant, and we are currently in year 2 of the grant with Wellington High, and everything is going very, very well so far. They really have just taken it to a whole new level with their behavior support and social emotional learning implementation. Next slide. And within the school district, or within the School Climate Transformation Grant Project Connect, there's really 3 overarching goals that we strive for to really carry out the deliverables of our grant. The first of which is that all students will demonstrate improved social emotional skills. And Wellington High is able to do that through their use of the morning check-in questions that have been implemented this year. These check-in questions really get the students to talk about different themes and different competencies that really build upon those emotional skills. Coming into next year, we're going to look at using explicit curriculum with social emotional learning at the high school level. This is going to help with improved attendance, behavior that's guided through the schools, behavior matrix, and the universal guidelines, which are referred to as the Wellington Way. Of course, being respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. And of course, all this leading to academic achievement. The second goal focuses on providing the schools and the staff members with support. That can be through coaching, professional development, technical assistance, in areas related to social emotional learning, positive support, engagement strategies, school climate and safety. And then, of course, our last goal focuses on the grant being able to increase capacity throughout the district as it relates to improved student behavior, PBS engagement, school climate. Really, the biggest thing is we really want to provide a model for what this integration work between positive behavior support, social emotional learning, with that focus on opioid prevention will look like, and be able to use this district wide. And at the end of our 5-year grant, we really hope to be able to make a big impact. And of course, I don't do this alone. I am one of the team members with Project Connect. My other team members, Fran Bosick and Greg Merber, we all work in tandem, and we do a really good job of being able to carry this out with the 9 schools. Wellington being one of them, and then kind of in that feeder pattern, Wellington Elementary and Wellington Landings, Wellington High being one of the feeder patterns. We also work with Roosevelt Elementary, Conifer Middle, Forest Hill High, and also with Hagen Road Elementary, Metropolitan Middle, and Beach High. And again, everything works together, and that feeder pattern works so well to be able to carry out these different initiatives and be able to see that over the 4.3 levels. And next slide, please. So with Wellington High's PBS and SEL initiatives, we really look at being able to make sure that these grant deliverables are working well, within the school, and a big part of that is the team members are involved. For behavior support, they are led by their fantastic internal coach, Dr. Moore, and the PBS team has just been absolutely amazing this year. Most schools, in the high school setting, typically have anywhere between 10 to 15 team members on that PBS team, and Wellington High has and it has in their 18 team members. That was at the beginning of the year. Actually, we're all the way up to 25 now, and just a wide range of participants on that team, including a student representative, 3 parent representatives, and just representation across different staff members. We have non-instructional, we have instructional staff members, administration, so we get feedback from a lot of people. Wellington High, of course, being gold model school status last year for positive behavior support, the highest honors that you can get. And of course, this year they're starting out their Hero K-12 program. And with that Hero K-12 program, they're really looking to digitalize and really be able to electronify their already fantastic framework for PBS and their recognition systems on campus. And that program will be in full force for the upcoming school year, and we're even rolling it out a little bit this school year. I'm sure you've heard a little bit about that from your child already. And then, of course, SEL, right? SEL being taught daily. The morning check-in questions are being done 3rd period on odd days, 4th period on even days. And these check-in questions really get the students to be able to, have that chance to interact with each other and really be able to understand those social emotional skills that go along with the weekly theme and that competency focus. The teachers do a really good job of teaching that skill and being able for the students to practice that with other students in their class for that time. And those have gone over very, very well this year. And of course, welcoming rituals, engaging practices, and optimistic closures are being done throughout the school day. And those also work to help boost those SEL skills. Next slide, please. So that being said, I'm going to switch over a little bit here from our grant to transitioning into a little bit about you all for adult SEL and wellness. With the social emotional learning skills in mind that we were saying about our grant, obviously those are being taught to our students, but we know very well that social emotional learning doesn't just exist within the students. We want to help ourselves, the adults, with our social, physical, emotional well-being. And to be able to do that, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about some tips that can help you to increase your own adult wellness. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what can I do, right, to help improve my own social emotional well-being? We're in a pandemic, right? Well, the answer is actually quite a bit. There are a few ways that you can improve your overall wellness, even in a pandemic. And I put this slide, up here, and just looking at, in the midst of everything going on, just taking some time, right, for our own well-being and peace of mind. There are so many little things that we can try every single day just to be able to have that carved out time in our day to just focus on us. And when you think about that, just taking some time to just de-stress and rejuvenate, is such a critical part of our day. And there are different things that we can try to make that work, and just little things we can add into our daily routines to really help that. Next slide, please. And here's a few examples of how we can do that. So when we look here, I just compiled a list of 10 adult wellness tips that you can try right away, right? These are things that you don't have to plan for, things that you don't have to, say, all right, well, next month I'm going to get started with this. These are things that you can get started right away with helping that adult wellness piece. The ideas on this list came from some of the experts in the field. Our Project Connect team has attended numerous state and national conferences related to positive behavior support, social emotional learning. And this list was generated with ideas from the national experts with regards to social emotional learning and then PBS integration. And our district SEL team also provides some amazing tips for adult wellness as well. And I was even able to bring a couple things that they have put out for our district staff members for adults as well in here. So let's look at some of these ideas that we can try right away today. Something as simple as a gratitude journal, being able to just jot down things every day that you are thankful for. Even in a pandemic, we can always find the silver lining and be grateful for something every single day. You relax your mind when you are stressed. I have a link on there. I'll put that on the Project Connect newsletter that will be coming out next week. Just some ideas that you can use to relax your mind when you're stressed, and just ways that you can just get into that Zen environment and that just relaxation mode. Set one realistic health and wellness goal. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, something that's realistic to you. It's something that's meaningful to you. Be kind and pay yourself a compliment. Always something that we want to do each day, is to take time to have that positive self-talk, being able to compliment ourselves and make ourselves feel good. Pamper your brain and fuel it with healthy fats, nuts, seeds, fish. So about eating right. Sitting less today. Stand while working, possibly pacing during a conference call, taking a walk at lunchtime. I know one thing that I'm very guilty of is throughout the day, I'll get so busy, my lunchtime will come and I will not take my 30-minute lunch. I'll go right through it. And I really had to stop for the last couple of months and say to myself, I really need to take those, that 30 minutes. Even if I don't sit there and actually eat for the full 30, taking that 30-minute break is so crucial to being able to build up, that strong, adult, social emotional well-being. And, this is something that I think a lot of us, probably skip a little too often, but just really taking that time, to make it about us is very, very important. And one thing, that our district really promotes is, really being able to have that screen time, and take breaks in between, right? For every 20 minutes that you're on the computer on the screen, you want to take 20 seconds to look away, and being able to, practice those, very important tips to, keep well throughout the day. If you're working on the computer, that's what I was just saying, taking that 20 seconds to look away, or the 30 seconds to look away for every 20 minutes. And then the experts recommend getting at least 7 hours of sleep per night. I know that sometimes that might be a little bit tricky, but trying to get closer to that goal. And then, of course, studies shown that looking at the screens before bedtime can prolong how quickly you fall asleep. So making sure that phone, is off, the TV is off, and we're giving ourselves that time to be able to fall asleep without that, light coming from those devices. And then, of course, getting 30 minutes of sunlight each day, being able to have a little bit of time to get that vitamin D. Next slide, please. And then looking at PBS and SEL at home. So thinking about now, not necessarily the tips for keeping ourselves well, but being able to practice some of those great strategies for positive behavior support, and being able to provide that environment for your child that is going to be able to have them really be able to maximize their time at home with you, and create that environment where it's similar to what they're seeing with that structure in the classroom. And these are just 7 easy tips that you can try with your child at home that will encourage that PBS and SEL. And so again, things that are quick tips, things that can be easily done. Something as simple as a daily schedule, right? Children really thrive in that predictable environments, and just giving them a heads up at the beginning of the day of what that schedule is going to look like for either today or tomorrow, and being able to have them understand what's to come. Family behavior expectations, creating harmony, and giving those lists of expectations that you feel as though are important for the safety and well-being for everybody, and really having those expectations not only for the child but also for yourself as well, and having that shared agreement. Family meetings, even taking time out, whether it's weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever you want to do, having that time to sit together, and really build upon that relationship and that clear communication, which is something I know we're going to talk about today with the active parenting piece. And being able to have that family meeting is a very, very good idea, and something that's not going to be very hard to do and and implement right away. And then, of course, teach, remind, reward strategies. Children need reminders, practice, and reinforcement when it comes to behaviors to learn it. So really being able to teach and remind and reward your child for a specific behavior that you're targeting. Whether it's something that they're already doing and we're paying them that compliment and we're giving them that reinforcement for something they already are doing well, or something we want to see them work on correcting. It can be a very, very big way to help them with that. Next slide. And the last 3, behavior specific praise. When the child does something that you want to see, that desirable behavior, making sure that we are reinforcing it and complimenting to it. And by reassuring and reinforcing it, we're going to ensure that it happens again. Natural and logical consequences, ensure consequence-related behavior are reasonable and are respectful. And then behavior contract, it's just a quick contract between you and the child to make those expectations clear and encourage self-responsibility. It's something that you might want to try, if you feel as though there needs to be something more to help correct a behavior that you're looking for. And of course, all these came from the Tennessee Behavior Support Project. Again, something that we were able to get in touch with through a national conference, and they were speaking to it. Great ideas for PBS and SEL at home, and really fostering that positive relationship with the child. Next slide. And that being said, that concludes my piece on Project Connect and SEL and adult wellness tips. I really hope you found it useful, and I hope you were able to use some of those tips for your own social emotional well-being, and also being able to implement some strategies at home to promote PBS and SEL with your child. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to the Hanley Foundation and Susan Mikowski to begin their piece on the active parenting and the red light, green light.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. As the screen is telling you there, my name is Susan Mikowski, and I am a prevention specialist with the Hanley Foundation. And I am also an active parenting national trainer, which means that as we get into this, you're going to hear about someone named Dr. Popkin. I actually got to spend a few days with him in Atlanta. His passion for positive parenting is amazing, and it has really flown over. I am very excited to be able to share it with those around the Hanley Foundation. So if we could go to our next slide, please. This is a little snapshot of the 2 different programs that Active Parenting offers. The 4th edition is geared toward parents of children 5 to 12. And then the teen program is going to hit those tweens all the way up through, say, 18 or 19. The program is 6 sessions long. It is video-based and very interactive. There are activities that the parents participate in. There is a workbook of activities that we ask them to complete. So it is very engaging and filled with lots and lots of information. The workbooks are provided free, and we do offer the program in a couple of different languages. So what I've been asked to do is just kind of share you a little snapshot, a little snippet. So keep in mind, as we're going through my material, it is really just a tiny piece of a much larger program. So moving ahead, let's go to the next slide. And today we are going to talk about channels of communication. And before we get into the specifics, I just want to share that communication is something that you can't not do. I hate to use double negatives, but basically what I'm saying is if you're saying nothing at all, you are actually saying something, right? So in terms of the program, they present 3 different channels of communication. And at the top of the screen there, you see words. And that is the actual choices that we make to express our thoughts or ideas verbally. What words do we choose to use? And then we move down to tone of voice. You know, do we sound pleased or annoyed? Do we sound frustrated, satisfied, happy, sad? The list can go on, but our voice can tell a lot about the feelings that we're having. And then the last thing you see listed there is the nonverbal cues, our body language or our facial expression. So they're a smile versus a frown. I'm sure we've all heard the age-old, arms crossed and kind of standoffish versus the open and more receiving. So all of those things play into our communication. And the question I would pose then is, which one is more important? Which one carries more weight? And really, it depends on the person or the situation. For example, if you're giving someone directions, your words are going to be very important. You certainly want them to turn left if they're supposed to go left, or right if they're supposed to go right. So if we mess that up, then there's a miscommunication. So words in that example, but when we move toward emotionally charged situations, things that involve emotion, our tone of voice and our body language are really going to carry more weight. Do you want to share something important and close to your heart to someone who you don't feel is open to receive that information? Chances are probably not. So what we want to do with these 3 things is we want to make sure that we speak on all 3 of the same channels. So if your words are saying one thing, but your face and your tone of voice are saying something else, then you would be sending what we called a mixed message. And if we're doing that with our children, it can be very confusing and discouraging. So what we want to try to do is make sure that all 3 channels are being spoken the same way. The program actually has a great video example in the 4th edition. It's quite humorous. Mom walks into the room with a plate of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies, and she offers one to grandma in the family, and grandma says, "Oh, no, thanks, I'm on a diet," with her words, and yet takes a cookie off of the plate and starts eating it. The little girl in the family says, "Oh, yes, I'd like a cookie." She takes the cookie, takes a bite. These are delicious, except she's making a really terrible face that does not at all indicate that the cookie is delicious. And the little boy says, "Oh, I would love to have one of those cookies." Yet he continues coloring on his paper in front of him. So they use this very pointed example to show that it is very hard to stay on the same channel in terms of our communication. And then the other piece, once we figure out how to convey our ideas to our children, talking on all of the same 3 channels and not giving mixed messages, is now we have to listen to our children and see what are they saying to us, maybe that their words are not conveying. So once you get the hang of communicating on all 3 of the channels correctly yourself, then you need to learn to listen to see how is your child communicating to you and what channels are they using. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So in the program, Active Parenting, we always want to look at things from a proactive stance versus a reactive stance. We are going to, as Michael said in some of his material, we want to try to prevent a problem before it comes up. So Active Parenting actually lists 5 steps of active communication. And the first step is active listening that you see there on the screen in front of you. So for our 3 pieces of active listening, and this is just as important for an adult to an adult, whether it's their spouse, their coworker, and definitely with their children. So I guess the point here is to also play off of Michael's. These things work for adults to children just as well as they work for adults to other adults. We know that someone is actively listening to us if they give us their full attention, 100%, right? It makes me think of a parent grabbing the face of a small child and saying, "Look into my eyes." That's because if you have the child's attention and they're looking into their eyes, you know that they're not doing anything else. So let's move forward a little bit. And now we have our teenager come home and they really want to share whatever happened during the day. And that's a rarity. So let's be careful and make sure we don't miss that opportunity. But if you, for example, are in the middle of doing the dishes, cleaning the house, whatever the case may be, you need to stop that activity and engage with your child. Let them know that they have 100% of your attention in terms of this communication. And then once it gets started, we need to acknowledge them. We need to shake our head. We need to have that eye contact. We need to say things like, I understand, or, oh, my favorite one that I love to use is, so what I hear you saying is, and then I repeat back to them what I believe they just told me. And if it's different, they can correct me so that I'm sure that I know what they wanted to share with me. And then the third thing that you see on there is empathy. And it is so important. It is defined as being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And when we can do that for our kids, it really opens up lines of communication. It lets them know that we are on their side, and it can really help build some trust and credibility. Again, the video example in the teen program for empathy is a family who's sitting around the kitchen table talking about curfew, and the young 16-year-old boy is just like, I just want to be out with my friends and driving around, and there's a lot of conversation, but dad specifically stops at one point and looks at his son and says, I understand what it was like to be 16. I wanted to do those same things. And right then and there, it gives them just a little bit more connection. It kind of makes the father a little more validated, and the son maybe a little more willing to listen to why dad wants to put some parameters on his behavior, just because he knows that dad really does understand how he feels. So definitely we don't want to discount that empathy piece. Let's go ahead and move to our next slide. And this one we can see here, listening for feelings. It really goes back to those 3 channels. The screen is telling us sometimes we forget to listen, but let's remember we're not only listening with our ears, we're listening with our eyes. What are those 3 channels telling us? This one, I often give the personal example that I have a 25-year-old son, and when he calls me on the phone, I can tell just by the tone of his voice if everything's okay or if there's something he wants to talk to me about. It's really amazing once we start keying into this. And then the other piece for the feelings portion of it, that we want to listen to more than just facts. We want to hear how they feel about it. And we want to be able to say to them, what feeling word might fit with this? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling frustrated? And we kind of walk them through this process in being able to name those feelings. And when they can do that, it allows them to maybe not act out as much because they were able to verbalize what that feeling was. And when we are able to kind of key into this and utilize this strategy, it's going to do a few things for us. And that list is going to include, it is going to help them feel that you want to support them. It is going to help them learn to communicate their feelings with their words rather than any misbehavior or acting out. And it's going to help you understand what they're really thinking and what they're really feeling, even though they might not actually be verbalizing those things. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, because in all of this communication talk, especially with teens, it often involves solving a problem. And if we can help them look for alternatives versus consequences, we're going to be that much further ahead in the game. It really is something that will serve them well. And it also makes me go back to another thing that Michael said. It could have been taken right out of the active parenting material: natural consequences versus logical consequences. In fact, an entire session of the 6 weeks is spent on just that concept. So it really is important. But if we relate this back to our communication piece, we can see that if they're able to come up with these creative alternatives and then pick the best one, the likely consequence is going to be a favorable one. So again, just really spending the time being able to communicate and work through those problem-solving situations with our teens is very valuable. Let's take a look at the next slide, please. All right, we see a slide there, a picture of a parent with their palms up. So when I do this part of the presentation in person, and I also do it when I'm presenting virtually, so I'm going to ask you to come along on a little activity with me. And before you open up those palms, I want you to do this. I want you to put them in fists like this. And then I want you to just kind of envision the fact that there is nothing getting in and there's nothing getting out. Now, if we open them up, we can clearly see that we are able to receive new ideas and also let some things flow out. And this activity, doing it physically, is so powerful. And then we relate this activity to the way we're communicating with our children. And I just want you to hear the difference between these two statements. And again, think of this: fist closed. Here is what I need you to do. Very powerful, very much in control. And who's in the control there? The parent, right? Versus, I don't know what you'll decide to do, but let's look at our options. Feels completely, completely different. And really, if you can master this technique, it does several different things. First of all, it acknowledges the fact that the control of whatever this decision is really belongs to your teen. And it can actually allow you, as an involved parent, to have more influence in what that teen will decide about whatever that situation is. So we need to remember that we are in the role of a consultant. It's okay to give our ideas. We want to give them gently, not insistently, but we want them to realize that the decision is theirs. Almost, again, picturing the decision is in your hands. You're handing it over to them, not mine as the parent. So let's go ahead and flip to our next slide. And this one is going to be number 4 of our active communication. And this one is offering encouragement to our kids along the way. And you can see the 4 things that are listed there, focusing on their strengths, finding something good. There is something good in every one of our children out there, and we need to focus on that piece. Let's show them confidence. Let's show them that we believe they can achieve whatever it is they're setting out to do. Let's stimulate some independence. Let's give them some responsibility and follow up and make sure that they are rising to that occasion, and then valuing who they are. We've heard a lot of this lately, that we really need to talk about the effort that was put into making a certain grade versus what the actual grade might be. All too often in our society today, it is measured by the grade, the award. Really, don't we want to concentrate more on you're very kind young person, you're a very understanding young person, valuing them for who they are, not what they do. Alrighty, let's go to our next slide. And again, you have it all there now, the 5 steps of active communication. We learned in the beginning how to listen actively. We're going to listen for those feelings. We are definitely going to look for those alternatives, evaluate the consequences of those decisions. We're going to offer encouragement. And then the last step is following up later. If they came to you with a problem, a situation that they wanted your input, and you've shared this great communication, the natural thing to do when they come home from the activity, from school, the outing, whatever it is, how did it go? And if it went great, You're going to offer some words of encouragement that are going to want them to repeat this process in a positive way. And if it didn't go so great, then you work back through the steps. None of this comes overnight. So much of it comes with practice, having a plan, again, being proactive versus reactive, thinking about, we may encounter this situation. What is our game plan? Invaluable if we can actually have something in place. I have to share that the communication piece is absolutely my favorite one to teach. The videos are fantastic, and I would definitely encourage anyone seeing this, if this information resonated with you, please check out the programs that are available. Active parenting is offered through the Hanley Foundation in the area that you're viewing this, so we would definitely love to have you be part of our 6-week class series at some point. Let's go ahead and go to the last slide, I believe it is. And this is another little piece of Hanley. We just wanted to share with you in terms of our teens. Did you know that 86% of Palm Beach County teens are alcohol-free? That is amazing. That came from the 2020 Florida Youth Substance Abuse Survey. And this information is going to be on some buses throughout the West Palm area, if I'm correct. That concludes my portion. Certainly, we're happy to answer any questions. I think that there is a final slide that shows, other way. I think there's an email on the very last one. Yeah, there, in case there isn't any questions. We are happy to help in any way that we can. And I just want to thank you for your time this afternoon. It's a subject that I'm very passionate about, and feel honored to have been able to share it with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all taking the time to join us today for the live session, or if you're watching us recorded, thank you for taking the time to do that. There was an active parenting flyer that was sent out with information on that course, which begins at the end of April. So please make sure that you take note of that and sign up. There's a link on the flyer to sign up for the course in English and in Spanish. So just make sure that you register ahead of time so you can make sure that you get your spot. And if you didn't receive it for any reason, just make sure you email diamond@hanleyfoundation.org on the screen, or you can email anybody from Wellington High that you feel comfortable with, and I'm sure they can get it to you right away, or you can email me, michael.kanuski, KANUSKY, @palmbeachschools.org. Thank you so much and have a great day.